Hey everybody, welcome. We are going to take a look ahead at an upcoming assignment. It's something I'm trying brand new this spring, so you guys are my guinea pigs. I hate to say it that way, but I hope you find it fun. I am taking some courses at UCF right now, and one of the classes that I recently finished, we had to do several projects that used different kinds of media. So we had to do an audio project and we had to do a video project and we had to create a website, and there were several other things that we had to do that make use of different kinds of media. So we're used to, in our coursework, typically having to write papers, do discussion boards. Sometimes there's video involved because we have a presentation. Maybe we use some visuals because we create a PowerPoint, but it's very rare that we get to put it kind of all together in one piece. So this term, I'm trying something new that I call a multimedia project. And it really is meant to be kind of a fun way to end the term. There are some grading criteria, so you will be able to succeed at it as long as you do something that it shows you try. Okay. But it will not be a standard paper and it will not be a standard video. It's going to be a little bit more complicated than that, but also hopefully a little bit more fun. So we're going to take a look at it. Let me got to get open to the right thing here. Sorry. We're going to take a look at it together. And of course, we'll talk about it more as we get closer to it, but I just want to preview it for you in this week so that you have it kind of in the back of your mind and are ready to start working on it. So as I mentioned, it's just called the Multimedia Project. It's worth 50 points. There is a grading rubric, so you can take a look at that. This is not published yet, but you'll be able to see it. So I'll show you the rubric really quickly. It's not terribly complex. Use of multimedia. So you've showcased more than just writing. You get 10 points for that. Covers required number of literary works. So there has to be at least 3 that you'll talk about, which we'll show you in a minute. The connections to the specific works of literature are clear. So it has to be, I have to understand how that media represents a tie to a particular work of literature. For creativity, of course, shows insight and creativity. And then documentation, you are going to have to probably use sources to complete this. So you'll need to include a works cited list. You probably will not have internal citations other than if you have a video or a visual or something, you would cite the source with it. But anyway, so let's take a look at the requirements and ideas and all of that good stuff. So the final formal assignment in LIT2000 is going to showcase your newfound knowledge and creativity. Each learner will create a multimedia project showcasing what you've learned about literature this semester and sharing works of literature you have specifically enjoyed. So it's essentially a good way to think of it as a chance to showcase what you think about what we've covered. So you're going to have one or more multimedia effects: a newsletter, an infographic, a video, a blog post with still images. You could curate your own Pinterest board. And if you are into websites, you certainly could set up a website and include everything in one website. So it's kind of going to be up to you how many pieces you need to showcase what you want to showcase. So what do you need to include? With so many potential ways, of course, of sharing your thoughts, it's going to be very hard for me to be very specific, but whatever you do should showcase connections with at least 3 specific works of literature from the class. Now, you can also highlight other works of literature. Let's say that there's something that you remember reading in high school or even before that, or maybe a book that you've read just for fun that has deep meaning for you. Maybe you're big into Harry Potter or you're big into the Twilight series or something along those lines. You can include other works of literature, but I do want you to have ties with at least 3 of the things that we have specifically looked at in LIT 2000. You should actually state those connections. So you may have, depending on how you set it up, you may have little introductions, like you could have an introduction and then a video, or an introduction and then a photo, or an introduction and then a blog post. The blog post could have still images in it, but it could have little introductions that show what those still images represent. If you save everything on a Pinterest board, you're going to have to write introductions to before the link to the Pinterest board to show what you are showcasing. So you will have, of course, a works cited list for things that you have used. So you will have an extra document or an extra list somewhere within your piece. If you do everything in, say, a newsletter or on a website, you could put everything in the same place. If you have individual videos or even a single video, you're probably going to have some additional things like a written introduction and a works cited document. So you want to make sure you meet the requirements, but you can do it in a variety of different ways. You're going to use the discussion board. This is set up as a discussion board. So you're going to share your multimedia projects with the whole class. If you have web-based things, or you might put a YouTube video, you can share links, of course. With documents, you should download them to your computer and then use the tools within Canvas to upload them. If you have a newsletter, if you create a newsletter using Canva or some other system, maybe even Microsoft Word, if you really want to get crazy, you should save those in PDF format. If you make an infographic, again, Canva is a website that I'm going to introduce you to that you can use for this type of thing. Infographics can be saved either as JPEGs or PNG files. Canva automatically reverts to PNG and then you can download it. So most of mine end up being PNGs. And there will be introductions on instructions on how to do that sort of thing within the module. So we'll have separate stuff about Canva and things of that nature. So you could have all one thing. You could have a newsletter that talks about the 3 works of art with video or pictures or whatever. Or you can have separate things. So let's say you have 5 works of literature you want to include. You could do one complex project, or you could make 5 smaller things. So this would allow you to focus on one work per piece if you want. And then all the pieces together become your project as a whole. Or you could have a single website or a single newsletter, a single document that puts everything in one piece, even a single video. You could cover everything you want in one video. So I've got some inspiration for you and some things to think about. One of my favorite poems ever is Leda and the Swan by William Butler Yeats. The Greek myth of Leda and the Swan has been interpreted often in the visual arts. So I could make a slideshow of works of art based on Yeats's poem. And it's really not, they're not necessarily based on Yeats's poem, but Yeats's poem and those are based on the same Greek myth. I've actually done that. I have a slideshow with various visual artistic representations of Leda and the Swan. With A Good Man Is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor, which is one of our assigned stories. I could make a diorama of the scene at the end and make a short film showing it. We don't necessarily think about things like dioramas or posters or things of that nature, but that kind of thing is multimedia. So you could make something that is a real, it has, exists in the real world, but you're going to have to find a way to show it. So you can't stick a whole diorama on a discussion board, but you can show photos of it or make a video of showing you making it, that kind of thing. You could do that. I'm thinking of the car overturned on the ditch and all the dead people. Spoiler alert, if you didn't read the story, now maybe that'll make you want to. There are also, of course, film adaptations for a lot of the plays and even some of the stories. So you could make a presentation and include some clips. They don't have to be your original films, although the more original, the better. But film clips would work for that as well. I mentioned Canva earlier. There's how you spell it. It's just canva.com. And I'm going to show you on this before we leave it. I could use Canva to make a newsletter based on the works of literature that interested me. And you could even make it almost like a small town newspaper, like set in the small town where, say, Alice Walker's Everyday Uses, and you could talk about other works of literature, or you could do separate newsletters for 3 different stories, however you want to do it. Canva also has a cool thing called infographics. You could do a visual summary of a complex plot, like Faulkner's Rose for Emily. And then, of course, original artwork is always is always welcome. Photographs, drawings, paintings, film, sculpture. You can also pull in other people's artwork. You just want to make sure, of course, to give the artist credit. So I've got a whole list of tools here that you can explore, and I'm not gonna demo every single one of them, but I will show you quickly some things about Canva in case you want to use it. Canva is heavily used in education. All of the banners and all of the handmade buttons on our canvas are done by me in Canva. I have a Canva Pro account. And I think I can even invite you if you wanted to do some heavy duty Canvaing, but the free version of Canva has plenty of stuff that you could explore. So I will show you that quickly. Powtoon I've worked with a little bit. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is a cartoon maker, and it has already got little people in it and stuff, and you can make videos with Powtoon. iMovie, of course, if you're an Apple user, you have access to iMovie, which will allow you to do some editing and things as well. A website that I've not used before, or it may be an app, is a tool that you can use on your non-Apple products, and it's called Flixier. I don't know that much about it because I haven't used it. But that's one that I've seen mentioned in several places, along with Loom. Not used Loom either. Of course, Prezi and PowerPoint have plenty of places to make videos with, and so do Google Slides. Wix and Weebly are free website making tools. I used Weebly for my class project in that one I was telling you about. WordPress, of course, is a blog site, and you could set up your own blog. And then Pinterest, of course, if you've not fallen down a Pinterest hole, well, maybe stay away from it. But Pinterest, of course, is a website where you can share, you basically put pins in things that you like. So I'll real quickly show you something with Canva and Pinterest, because they are pretty much visually oriented and not terribly there's not a lot of video involved, although you can make videos with Canva, and you can save videos in Pinterest as well. But anyway, so let me quickly switch over to Canva. I had been doing some searching. So this is the basic Canva setup, and you'll notice, of course, like with most websites, there's a lot of tools to kind of help you get started. Different documents, you can make whiteboards, presentations. You can create Zoom backgrounds, which I have done with them. There's video. This was one of the ones that I was telling you about, the idea of doing an infographic. You can create a blank one and do it yourself. There's all kinds of templates and things that you can use, or you can create things based on what other people have already started. So let's say I want to make an infographic about poetry. So here we have, here's an English literature timeline. Now, don't just take somebody's infographic, but these could get you started. So you could say, oh, well, I want to talk about different types of text, but I want to say maybe do different types of poetry, and I could have sonnets and villanelles, and but I could take this one and I could create it with my own content. I can add my own content, and it's super easy to use, like most things these days that are created for people that do not necessarily know how to do coding. But let's say I wanted to do types of poems. I would rewrite this little paragraph, put it in my own words, do each of these pieces. You can delete things if there's, let's say there's what, 4, let's say you only have 3 that you want to talk about. So I can go through and I can delete all of this if I'm not going to have anything down here, and then maybe put something different. So let's say I wanted let's search for a book, like a book graphic. And let's just put one in. So if I wanted to fill that space and I didn't have a 4th thing, I could put a book down here. So there's lots of things that you can do with it for graphic design. You can also make newsletters in Canva. So it's a good one for that because the layouts will already be there for you. Google, of course, Google Slides, Google Docs. There's a lot of Google products that you can use to make free content as well. PowerPoint has got a lot of new stuff in it that will allow you to use little cutout people and things, so you could do graphics there as well. I also promised I would show you really quickly, if you've never used Pinterest. I feel like many of you are going to be very familiar with Pinterest, but if you don't know Pinterest, you just create an account. It's completely free. And then whatever you search for, you can then save it. So I'm going to search for a rose for Emily. And I'm going to come up with all kinds of things that people have created. Here's a study guide by Course Hero. Here's a visual on DeviantArt that someone had made. Here is a podcast pairing that gives you some link to podcasts and things. So you could curate your own board by creating a new board. Now, I don't have one for literature right now, but let's say I wanted to create one. So let's say I'm going to save this. Oops, except I saved it to recipes. I did not mean to do that. It's not really a recipe. Let me save this one. I'm going to create a new board. There's got to be one. Where is it at? There we go. Create board. So I want to call it literature, and I'm going to create it. Okay. So then once it's created, when I find other things that I want to save to that same one, I would just put, okay, I want to save this to literature, save. I want to save this one to literature. Oops, to literature. It really wants me to save to recipes. There we go. And then you would share the link to this particular board. You'll notice up here, it's going to be pinterest.com, your username, and then whatever the name of your board is, but you can just copy and paste that link and it will show you. So that's a little bit about some of those. If you need help with any of them, feel free to let me know. But like I said, I will warn you, there are some of the ones that I have listed there because I saw them used by other people and they look like they'd be very helpful, but I don't have access to all of them. So just be aware of that. But there's a lot of cool things. I didn't do a very good website for my course, but I did manage to finish a website on Weebly. It is pretty user-friendly. I haven't tried Wix, but I have used WordPress before to make a blog. And then, of course, within the blog, instead of just writing, you can include photos and that sort of stuff. So mostly I want you to have fun with it. You just need to make sure you represent at least 3 of the things that we have read. You can include others. All right. Hopefully that helps. And we'll talk more about it as it gets closer. But I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a head start in thinking about what you could do for those multimedia projects. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.